Welcome to the podcast about venture capital, where investors and founders alike can learn how VCs make decisions and reach conviction. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is The Full Ratchet.
Welcome to another special release of Investor Stories. On this installment, the experts discuss a startup that they did not invest in, why they passed, and if there was a key learning that now informs their approach. Here's the segment called Why I Passed. On today's special segment, we have Billy Libby of Upper 90. Billy, can you tell us a story about a startup that you passed on, a good or a bad pass?
I'll give two examples really quick. So a lot of people ask like what we wouldn't do in Upper 90 because we're kind of talking about so many things and, it sounds like we do everything. There's two deals that we were shown that we said no to, and I'll explain why. So one was a scooter company. A scooter costs $300 to make, and you can predict the number of rides that scooter is expected to get in Chicago or LA or New York. And so you can say the payback period on a scooter is 3 months. And we should not use equity. We should finance a scooter, and you get all the revenue until you get 2 times your money or something. We stay away from where the math works, but there's like a binary element that we can't predict. New York City banned scooters, so there are things that, and I think those have become really big businesses, but like there's some binary thing that you can't control or have any way to underwrite. And that's something that I passed on. It's called Super Pedestrian. Another one was Bird, which have both become really good businesses, but you just can't predict kind of regulatory regime changes is one. And then I'm just trying to think of, I would say another one that I didn't invest in early was Robinhood. So
no shit. Wow.
When it's kind of a wild story. So I was at Goldman, and then I left to go to the buy side, and I came back. And I had a year non-compete before I came back. And I was advising a lot of really cool startups in the fintech space because a lot of fintechs need to go enterprise and scale. And that's kind of what I had done at Goldman. And so I was offered to be an advisor. I still have the contract at Robinhood, but it was like pre-product with equity. And I'd known a lot of the people there from the beginning, and they were trying to figure out what to do with all of their trading and order flow. And when I went back to Goldman, I was not able to be an advisor. They just don't want any conflicts. And so I guess if I just like not worked for, the last 10 years, probably would be much better off. But I think I have trouble in fintech looking at a company like Coinbase or Robinhood, knowing how like regulatory complicated those worlds are. And to be like, Coinbase is worth twice as much as Goldman Sachs, and like Robinhood's worth 5 times as much as Schwab, and just like how hard it is to run like kind of scalable regulated businesses. So I'd probably say that I didn't appreciate, and maybe I still don't, like the ultimate terminal value of these like challenger banks and other disruptive, retail platforms that are, obviously getting very rich multiples. And I just, at the time, and I probably still don't like understand it relative to like what Goldman just feels cheap to me if all of these things are worth that much,
Sure. Yeah. It's funny. We've got a number of LPs from prop shops and market making firms, and getting through the legal process just for them becoming LPs, like limited partners.
It's crazy.
It's a lot of work. On today's special segment, we have Vanessa Larco of NEA. Vanessa, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass? A story about a startup that you passed on.
I passed on Figma at the Series B. That one's hurt. I'm a huge fan of Dylan. We still keep in touch. I was just very new to NEA, new to venture, and the company just didn't fit into a mold that we typically saw. And it was very hard to convince the partnership to pursue something that was kind of so out of our lane, both on go-to-market, on revenue, on a lot of metrics. The market they were going after was also pretty novel. So it was just very hard on a lot of different vectors, but I loved the product and I loved the team and I knew it was really special. I just couldn't articulate it. And that one keeps me up at night.
Today we have Nagraj Kashyap, managing partner at SoftBank. Nagraj, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass? A story about a startup that you passed on?
I would say one of the startups that I passed on early on is a company called Unity Technologies. Unity is now a public company. And this was a company we had seen, Qualcomm Ventures, and I had met them a couple of times. They had relocated from Scandinavia, which they were based in, to the US. And I guess what we missed, or what I missed specifically there, is how relevant 3D tooling will be for the game development market. It was not clear at that point in time. And to be fair, the company took a little bit of time to establish it, but the tool set became so sticky and so useful to an entire set of developers that it's, in some ways became an industry standard. And we didn't have the foresight, I guess, that's when you do the pass of basically understanding that big vision the company had. I mean, the founders clearly had that vision from day one, and we couldn't see enough data points or proof points to buy into the vision. And so I think that was a bad pass on our side.
That will conclude this installment of Investor Stories. If you're enjoying the program and would like to see it continue, take a moment and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. Okay, that will wrap things up for today. Until next time, over-prepare, choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining me.